Still a lot of debate going on why South Africa has won the World Cup and why the All Blacks were the better team. So in today's video, I'm just going to look at the statistics of the game that was compiled by World Rugby. And in those statistics, they looked at different things they look at attack, kicking, set pieces, defense, and discipline. So based on those 5 things, they then looked at how the 2 different teams performed during the game. So this is just an idea of these are the stats that Rugby World Cup looked at. To start off, first of all, these were 2 world-class teams who battled it out in a Rugby World Cup final that, to me, it was of epic proportions. The 2 teams, South Africa and the All Blacks, they have 2 completely different styles of play. The All Blacks play more attacking rugby, and then the Springboks, the South African players, they play defense rugby. So if you look at the statistics, it exactly supports the type of play that was going on. When you look at attack, the All Blacks they dominated the game in terms of attack. When you look at, the meters carried was 459 meters compared to South Africa's 360 meters. The All Blacks had 149 runs compared to South Africa's 85 runs. Carries over the gain line or advantage line was 66 times by the All Blacks and 37 times by the South Africans. The All Blacks had 221 passes compared to South Africans' 84 passes. The All Blacks beat the defense of South Africa 37 times compared to the South African side, who beat the defense of the All Blacks 14 times. Offloads, All Blacks 5, South Africa 7. The All Blacks won 3 mauls compared to South Africa's 2 mauls. And the All Blacks won 116 rucks were won. 115 rucks were won by the All Blacks compared to the 56 that were won by the South Africans. So when you see that the stats in terms of attacks, it support the style of play of the New Zealanders. But that was not the only thing that were taken into consideration. Also, they looked at kicking and then set pieces. I just want to focus on set pieces. Scrums. 2 out of 2. The All Blacks got 2. 2 out of the 2 scrums that they got, they won. So that's 100% success rate. The South Africans got 11 scrums and they won 10 out of the 11 scrums. So keep in mind, a scrum, it's when there was a knock forward and the game has to be restarted from that point. So lineouts. So in terms of the lineouts, while we were watching the match, at some stage it seems as if the South Africans were not even contesting for the ball, especially in the second half of the game. So the New Zealanders got 22 lineouts. And out of the 22, 20 times they got away with the ball. South Africans, 10 lineouts, and 6 out of those 10 times they got the ball during the line out. So when you compare the success rates of the line outs, 60% to South Africa, and then New Zealand, it's 90%. So it would make sense because they just got more line outs than the South Africans. Then the part, the discipline. When you look at discipline, The discipline is where the penalties were conceded. This was a highly contested, highly charged, highly competitive, extremely high-staked game that was happening. And there was a lot of pressure on the players from both sides. The weight of having to win the World Cup rested on the shoulders of those 30 players on the pitch, on the field. So, of course, the higher the stakes, the more possibility there is to make mistakes. The South Africans, the Springboks, conceded 10 penalties. The All Blacks conceded 5 penalties. And I just want to say, for the purpose of this video, I'm not going to look at the yellow cards or the one red card. I'm also not going to take the ref into consideration. This is just an analysis purely on the game itself, how the players performed, how the teams performed. So New Zealand conceded 5 penalties. South Africa conceded 10 penalties. What does that mean? And this is now where I want to bring in the kicking. A penalty, when a team concedes a penalty, it gives the opponent the opportunity to convert it into 3 points. When you take it to the poles and you kick, then the team gets, that is 3 points for a penalty. You can either decide to kick it to the poles, or you can decide to kick it out, to form a line out closer to the scrum, closer to the try line of the opponents. In this case, the penalties that were awarded against the All Blacks were 5. South Africa took every opportunity except for 1. 5 out of those 4 times, they went for the poles. And Handre Pollard, the number 10 for the Springboks, he already had 100% success rate for this World Cup. He has not missed a single kick. So 4 out of those 5 penalties they kick, he got it over 12 points on the board for South Africa within the first half. The 5th one, they managed to kick, they kicked it out because it was just too far to realistically, for any chances of success, he was too far from the poles. Then let's look at the All Blacks. The All Blacks got 10 penalties. 10 penalties was awarded in their favor against South Africa. And there was this one incident where they were close to the pole and they decided to go for a try, which at that stage it didn't materialize. Out of those 10 penalties, they managed to get 2. And this is where the game plan, the different game plans, you could see it play off in front of you. The South Africans, the Springboks, when they came onto that field, onto the pitch, you could see their intention, the game plan, the strategy was to score at any opportunity possible. And they took every opportunity possible. They made use of every single penalty. In terms of the All Blacks, they came there with the intention to score tries. And here I just have to mention the try of Beauden Barrett that he scored in the second half. That was magical. It was outstanding. And to be able to score a try in a Rugby World Cup final when your team was trailing and under such high pressure and in the second half without your captain, that was massive. But unfortunately, it wasn't enough. To come back to the 10 penalties, realistically, the success rate of in any game, it's between 50 and 60% of the penalties that are being awarded to you. The expectation is not that the player who kicks will get 100% rate. So let's look at realistically, if the All Blacks took every opportunity just to go for the post. Say of those 10, they managed to get 5 points. They managed to score successfully 50% of the 10. It would have been 5 penalties times 3, it's 15 points they would have gotten. And we would have sang a completely different tune. So, and like I've said, this is where it comes to decision making on the pitch. When you look at the defense of the South Africans, they made 209 tackles. And then I have to mention Pieter Steph du Toit, who made 28 tackles, the highest tackle in a single match by any player, by any individual. He made 28. So South Africa made 209 tackles. New Zealand made 92 tackles. South Africa missed 37 tackles. New Zealand missed 14 tackles. So when you look at the statistics, it does not lie. Like I always say, on paper, when you look at it, on paper, it seemed as if the New Zealanders, in terms of attacking, they were the better team. But the South Africans, in terms of defense, they were the better team. And at the end, it just came down to what was decided on the day, what was being done with what was at hand. And look, like I always say, it's easy for me sitting comfortably in my chair in front of the microphone to say would've, should've, could've. But this was a high pressure game, and decisions are being made of what you think will advance the team at that given moment. And only at the end of the match can you look back and can you see what we could have done better. Because I'm sure now the South Africans look like 10 penalties, but remember, when you are defending that, and especially in the scrum, it's too easy to make mistakes, but it also gives the opposing team an opportunity to capitalize on the mistakes of a team. So I just want to end off again before I go, just to show as well another statistic. This is in terms of the ball possession. I just want to mention that the first half, we had 53% territory and 40 compared to 40. No, the All Blacks had 53% territory, South Africa 47%. And this is an interesting stat. They had the ball 60% compared to 40% of the entire game. But the last 10 minutes of the game, when you look at the territory, 75% in favor of South Africa to 25% in favor for the territory of the All Blacks. We were playing for the last 10 minutes. The South Africans were putting the All Blacks under pressure in their own half. And that you do not want, especially when it's the last 10 minutes of the game, just based on the defense of the South Africans. So to come back, like I've said, attacking of the All Blacks compared to the defense of the South Africans. We can look back and we can all say, like, who is the better team, who made the most mistakes. We can look at discipline. You can assess, analyze, dissect, give your opinion. But come at the end of the day, at the end of the match, is what decisions were made in the heat of the moment, in that specific time. What decision was made to put points on the scoreboard? South Africans were hungry and they were clear. We came here to win. The All Blacks, they were forcing to score tries, which I can understand, because when you score a try, it immediately increases the margins. But it did not work as well. The South Africans was, let's score the moment we get close to the poles. Let's try and get that ball over. I mean, we saw drop kicks from Damian Willemse, Colby, from Cheslin Colby, and I think also Faf de Klerk. Oh no, it was Handre Pollard. Sorry, it was Pollard. They tried the drop kicks. It didn't work. We were, as the spectators, we were like, what just happened? But afterwards, it was take every opportunity as and when it comes. And at the end of the day, it was a tight match. Like I've said earlier, it could have gone either way. But the defense of the South Africans, it just got the upper hand. It made them to win the Rugby World Cup. And the build-up to that final, it was brutal. They understood we cannot play running rugby. We will not be able to score as many tries against the New Zealanders, but let's then make use of the opportunity when penalty comes. And that's what they did. And that's how they won. And that is why today they are the Rugby World Cup champions of 2023. I just want to end off with the criticism against the South Africans. There's a lot of criticism against the 7-1 split and how they play their rugby, because a lot of it's based on their defense. And it almost seems as if the detractors, they want World Rugby to say, actually there must be a rematch. They were not supposed to win. We reassessed and we looked at the different things in the game, and now we say that they must replay again. So it seems as if that is the underlying message. But think about this. When you wish something because the result was not in your favor, and you wish for something that will go against another team, just remember that you are opening the door, not for that team, but you want something, a trend to be set, not just for now, but also in future. So when a match features you, just see how ridiculous the sound. When a match is in your favor and you win, would you still have been saying the same thing as what you are saying now? This is sports. There are winners and losers. And sometimes losing, it's more painful than other times. But for the spirit of sportsmanship, for the spirit of the game, for the spirit of rugby, let's celebrate the winners. Let's commend the team who lost, because it was not an easy battle. And let's focus on the next time on how to do better and how to do more, so that at the end of the day, the winning team can win, and whoever loses, take it gracefully. I thank you for watching, and I always forget to say, please like, share, subscribe, because I'm still trying to grow this channel. Every like, every subscription It makes a huge difference. And for every single person who has subscribed up until now, I just want to say thank you so much.